One of these on? Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's event featuring Suko and Ellie Valley. They are two really wonderful authors, activists, artists, all of the good A words. I'm Olivia. I am the publicist here at Or Books. We are actually located in the back of this bar right here, behind the projector screen. If you want to check out our sweet little spot there, you're welcome to. And we have other books that we've published on the shelf. So tonight we're featuring two of our authors, as I said, and two of their books. Ellie's book is coming out in February. There are some sheets of paper around with a QR code if you'd like to pre-order his book, Museum of Degenerates. He's kindly giving us a sneak peek of some of the images and text in that book tonight. And then Suko, her book is actually here. She did all of the images in here, and then some of the writing is by Steven Eisenman, who I don't think is here tonight. And Sue's book is available for purchase up there. She'll also be showing us some of the images along with some other ones as well. So I'm going to open it up to both of them and some presentations that we've put together, along with Colin, who's our publisher at OR, who will be moderating the conversation. Thanks so much.
You okay there? Maybe put the mics a little closer to you.
Okay.
Ellie, can you bring that one a little closer to you? So hi everyone. Oh, sorry. I'm Colin Robinson from All Books, and I'm so pleased to have these two at this event tonight, and even more pleased to be publishing their books because they're both great artists, really exceptional. It really is an honor. And not only are they great artists, but they are also political activists. And the thing about OR is we are a political publisher. We definitely locate ourselves on the left. We're for socialism. But we are not at all dogmatic about that, and we want to try to bring together art, be it in writing or in drawing or in painting, and our political ideas, because, well, first of all, it's much nicer to publish like that, and secondly, I think it has more effect to publish like that. So that's very much part of what we do, trying to bring together things that are beautiful and impactful in art with a political message. And there's no one who does that better than these two. So what we're going to do is just take 15 minutes for each of them to just talk a bit about their work and maybe show a bit of it up on the screen here. And then we'll have a conversation for 15, 20 minutes. And then we'll open it up to some questions. And that'll be it. So, Sue, would you like to go first? And
Yes.
if you just tell Olivia when you want to change the images, she'll change them.
Thank you very much, Colin. I've been with this publisher most of my adult life, which is something. And they've supported me 100% in my work. I can't tell you what that means, to have that support and improve the vision, not just, I've been very fortunate to have John Oakes and now Colin, to publish especially animal rights work, which is so trivialized, because animals are trivialized, artists are trivialized. And they've defended those causes And I know I haven't made them any money, any profit. So to do that really is political. And I thought of that on, I'm sorry you had to come here, because I know we just want to scream. And I know we need just to read the Onion. And I know we're thinking how to survive the next 4 years. I understand. No one wants, it's too soon. It's too soon. I just thought of Trump as a touchless fascist, because he's a germaphobe. And I'm trying to stress in the book that American fascism has been around since the beginning. There's nothing new in this. And if you look at the Lavender Laws of 1954, you know, appalling human rights violations. And you look at HUAC, House of Un-American Activities Committee, the Smith Act, which is still on the books. So there's nothing about this that is new. It's a constant drumbeat of fascism. And to my mind, you know, that's his, he's wearing his ear bandage, and that's his mob wearing panty liners on their ears in support. And I just thought this is, I'm just trying to draw really well. That's my intent too, because without, technique is a test of sincerity. And if you can't deliver the content, no one's going to look at the content. So I have a high level idea of what a drawing should be. To get the viewer, only the viewer can make this art, not me. The viewer says when it's art. And to me, art is an activist tool. So if they're activated, then the work's successful. Next, please. I was looking at the history of American fascism, and nothing really says it more than these two images. The first is during the Indian Wars, where people would rent a place on the top of trains to go through the plains of America shooting every single bison they could see. And the bodies just rotted. And this was a way of killing, destroying native populations. And now up to 2023 with mass slaughter of human beings. And then over to that, welcome back to school. And that's what children are learning. This is despicable, that children cannot even be protected. Can you imagine having to be a teacher and having to learn these drills to protect children from guns? And I've been in so many colleges now, universities, where I go into the classroom and it's concealed carry not allowed. That's the message on a university door. Concealed carry not allowed. Next, please. And the word is capital. So fascism, global fascism now is reaching a point as capitalism is decaying. And what is capitalism propped up by? Terror, violence, fraud. And it's never can be discussed in colleges. It's just capital is a given. There is no other alternative tool. It's amazing. There is an alternative to capitalism, but it's in place by force. Capitalism is in place by force. You know, if you look at the prison industrial complex, the meat industrial complex, and what was the stock that went up? What's the stock that went up the day Trump regained power? It's the prison industrial complex. It's who's going to round up human beings. So the essence here is capitalism. Who benefits? And I don't think in any of my artwork I've blamed a voter. This should never come down to voters. This is like Brexit. You know, the legal system in America has failed. We're dealing with a failed state. I mean, we all read the Constitution, and isn't this treason? Isn't this treason? It says so. Isn't what he did treason? You don't backpedal that. You arrest him immediately, and he's been allowed to fester and gain more and more power. So such is obvious. So capital creates fascism. Next, please. And I'm now going into Hogarth, and this is the first stage of cruelty. The 4 prints Hogarth did were the prints he was most proud of. And this was the origins of cruelty, which as a child, he called his character Nero after the Roman emperor, but I've changed it to Musk. So I've got Musk as a child, learning cruelty. And this is someone from apartheid South Africa. And when I hear him speak, that's what I'm hearing. So this is art history stuff, but I'm thinking about this now as a project. Next, please. And this is the last stage of cruelty where Nero is vivisected. So I have Musk being vivisected and his innards taken to Mars on SpaceX. This is another of his corporations, which implants chips into animals. You know, this is, and I just love the fact he's live streaming his own vivisection. And I imagine him, Musk and Trump being tied up in a sack, right? Then thrown into a rushing river. And then they bob along. And then only one comes out, all fat, licking their chops. Which one will it be? And the time is soon. Because one of the joys of fascism is they kill each other first, always. So then we've got a bit of a heads up there while they start to cannibalize each other for power. I think that's all. Could try for another, that's all. Oh, that one's a positive one. I saw that poster. It was the Communist Party in the 1930s. And it was a beautiful poster. And so I updated it into all the ways to fight fascism. And the way I think we can fight fascism is by doing forensic research into whatever we feel passionate about and then sharing with people. I mean, I have a friend who's an expert on the meat industry, and his knowledge is profound. And to have profound knowledge is revolutionary. To really learn it and go and get books and read, that's the beginning of change. Go ahead now, Eva.
Hi. Do I need the mic? Do I need the mic? Yeah? Okay, I'll use the mic. Can I take it out?
Yeah, we're live streaming, so the mic is...
Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, live streamers. Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you for, coming, all of you people, and also the live streamers. And I want to thank Aura Books for both putting this on, putting out our books, and being supportive throughout the process of getting our art into the world. Thank you, Colin, for being instrumental in getting both Diaspora Boy out and the Museum of Degenerates. Both of my books of art are with Aura Books, and I'm very proud of that. And thank you, Sue, for being here. Your new book looks amazing, and I've long been an admirer and fan of your brilliance and your art technique and your, activist soul. Yeah. Anyway, full disclosure, I thought this was purely a conversation, and our images would be just background while we spoke. I don't have anything prepared, but I'm happy to talk about my stuff, of course. But I don't have a spiel for you. That's my book cover. Wait, can you go back 1 second? Thanks. I might do that a lot, by the way. This actually, the book cover is the back cover. Continues the museum from the front cover, and I use the actual museum in Berlin, the Museum of Degenerate Art, or the exhibit of degenerate art that the Nazis put on in the 30s, started in Munich, but then it moved to many cities, and it was the largest and most well-attended exhibition of modern art in history, with millions of visitors, of course. So I actually drew the Berlin Museum on fire. You can't really tell because the fire is enveloping the entire cover, but just as sort of like a callback to that, those kind of things, you only know if you get the insider backstories and these commentary tracks. Okay, I guess we can move on from that though. The book is officially published in February, but it is out actually in a month, and so if you pre-order now, you will have it in time for gift giving in your holiday of choice. This one, yeah, I mean, this drawing. This is like during 2019 concentration camp usage regarding the term concentration camp regarding our concentration camps on the border. But this is one of those comics that continuously has renewed relevance. If you can't read it, it says, "Never again will our ethnic cleansing nightmare be invoked to stop an ethnic cleansing nightmare." And that is something that we've seen repeatedly from our ongoing war against immigrants and refugees in this country to what is happening in Gaza. When people say, "Oh no, the Holocaust is sacrosanct," it is something that we cannot use to learn from and to stop those horrors from repeating. And I just want to say, since I'm here and I have a mic, I have been re-upping a lot of my old comics from 2016 even, because we are repeating history now, and it's very upsetting that these comics are still relevant. Not just the advent of these monsters who are being ushered into the White House and every branch of government now. I mean, monsters, criminals, terrorists. That is our government. Not just that, but the appeasement and the complicity of the Democratic Party, not just when they are in power, not just when the Republicans are in power, but when the Democrats are in power. They set the stage for this, and they are paying no price. And one of the reasons they won't pay a price is because their consultants class and themselves, they get rich off of opposition, this feckless opposition. You can't tell me that Chuck Schumer is not excited about his new role, just reading stentorian speeches on the floor, with his fucking bullshit clothes. I mean, very, very, very upset by this, the Norms bullshit. Sorry, this was not prepared. I'm just annoyed. Oh, it's on video now. I want to say this though. I don't want to draw Trump again. I've done it all. One of the reasons I'm re-upping this stuff is I've said it all. I don't need to say it again. I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want to become a grifter. I could really, just do this shit, keep doing it, and try and make money off it. I'll never make money off my art. That's it's a given. So after the election, I was trying to catch up on shit. I'm going through Twitter, reading up, trying to remember, trying to see what the hell was happening. Because I was reeling after the election. And a couple days later, I'm trying to catch up. I don't know, within a week later. And just seeing Democrats doing their whole complicity shit over and over again. And seeing the people that brought us to this disaster, who said that Kamala Harris should run a right-wing campaign, were blaming people on the left and pretending that she ran a left-wing campaign. Absolute depravity. But then, so I'm I'm not drawing this shit again. I've already drawn this. And then at the same time, I don't remember the exact date. Sorry, I'm going to talk for a half hour, but I don't know what this is. At the same time, a bunch of Israeli fascist hooligans were running through the streets of Amsterdam, beating the shit out of people. And then afterwards, because it was a conflict of two different football gangs, some Israelis got the shit kicked out of them. And then every world leader came out to came out to the press and said this was Kristallnacht. They said this was Kristallnacht again. And that, that kind of thing, I've been drawing that kind of stuff for years as well. But if it's a choice between drawing fucking the fascists in our government again and drawing a movement that shits all over Jewish history, that shits all over the tragedies of Jewish history in the name of ethno-nationalism and fascism, I would prefer to draw that. So I've been spending this week, and one of the reasons I'm a bit tired right now, is I've been drawing that. And I'm excited about it, I'm inspired by it, and it's interesting to me because I'm not inspired by what is happening. These fucking cartoon characters, not the good kind of cartoons, but the fucking Dick Tracy villains, the Batman villains who are in charge, who are coming back into the White House. I don't want to draw them again But drawing the people who have abused Jewish history and identity, that still gives me energy and inspiration. None of it will give me money, but at least, so a new comic's coming out, hopefully Friday, maybe Monday. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, maybe we can look at the next drawing. Yeah, fucking Republicans. I mean, what else can you say? Our leader made a fascist remark that's utterly preposterous. You know, the usual. I mean, do I need to even explain this? It actually, this is from, I don't know, 2019, but then the Madison Square Garden fascist rally, you know, or don't get me started, but when that comedian makes that remark about Puerto Rico, and then the media and the Kamala Harris campaign, it turns into this whole thing about them calling Republicans garbage. You know, that they just reverse everything, and Democrats play into it. So this was very relevant after the Madison Square Garden. We can move on from there. I don't even know what's next. Oh yeah, Democrats. Feast, my friends, and tomorrow we rebuild together. I mean, you know, that's you know, Chuck Schumer. That is Joe Biden. I mean, you know, animal. The original version of this was the lion saying, why do gazelles always hunt, kill, and predate us, or whatever? You know, they're drawing Republicans, but it's like I have a version for Democrats too. I'm not gonna, you know, redraw this whole image. I'll just use it twice. Okay, we can go. That's the next one. Oh, here's Elon Musk. We both got an Elon Musk up here. Here he is on Mars with all of his, you know, fans who went to Mars with him, asphyxiating because he's such a brilliant genius that he made helmets that only end halfway up to save, you know, because, you know, why do you need helmets that cover your entire head? And he's shitting, and that is like a metaphor for the toxic sewer that he brought onto Twitter, the Nazis that he embraced. Actually, and after this comic came out, you see the jars of semen. It turns out that he actually is one of those, you know, pronatalist psychopaths that is so vain in his tech, you know, buffoonery, narcissism, thinking that his seed is special. Trump thinks the same about how he has racehorse genes. Anyway, it's him doing his usual thing, like begging for attention. I don't need to read it, but you know, he's an asshole. We can move on. Oh yeah, well, there's Joe Biden and his partner in crimes against humanity, Benjamin Netanyahu. This was just like, you know, from the start, you know, Joe Biden, he's saying, folks, democracy is on the ballot, freedom is on the ballot, and Netanyahu is saying the Hague won't stop us. The Democrats pretending that this was, that they opposed fascism while allying with a fascist to commit genocide. You know, what more is there to say? You know, I'm continuously speechless. I'm happy to answer questions about, I mean, it's very upsetting. And no matter how much of his base and his voters were begging him to stop doing genocide, all the Democrats did was blame the voters. Okay, maybe we can move on to the next one. Okay, yeah, I threw in some actual double-page spreads just now before this started because the book isn't here, but here you can look at what it's going to look like. This one is an image of Jenin. This is during the pro-democracy protests when Netanyahu was making one of his, you know, more recent attempts to turn Israel, Palestine into a fascist dictatorship by, you know, abusing the judiciary with this whole program. And meanwhile, in Jenin, they were conducting mass attacks against Palestinians. And so this was at the same time. This is in 2021. Yalla, hurry up. I'm late for the Democracy March in Tel Aviv. In fact, if you could read that, I can't read it, but and I didn't memorize this beforehand, but I quote one of the people who was a leader of these democracy protests saying that one of the reasons they need a strong judiciary was to protect Israeli soldiers from international courts of justice in The Hague. So it was like such a, you know, and that, I think she said that after this comic came out even, so such a great encapsulation of the Dystopia. Okay, maybe next. Oh yeah, paid for by AIPAC. How do you do, fellow Democrats like you? I support strengthening Israel, burning down Congress, and ending elections in America. The new blue wave. This is when AIPAC started to deliberately fund challengers inside Democratic primaries. Even most famously, this was inspired by when they took out Andy Levin, who was a Zionist Jewish former synagogue president. They got rid of him because he said Palestinians exist or something. You know, absolutely, for a terrorist group like AIPAC, that is beyond the pale. And so, and then after they got rid of all these, progressive Democrats, then they threw in money. This is all funded by Republicans, all funded by Trumpists. Threw in money to sack the Democrats in whose primaries they had previously interceded. I can stop anytime, by the way. Am I talking too long? I think this is probably the last one. Okay, a couple more pages. You know, Biden and Obama. It's nice. Peaceful transfer. I mean, this stuff is happening again. It's a mark of our great strength as a democracy that we can orchestrate a peaceful transfer of power to a Klansman. And you know, Obama, the things he said after 2016 election and the things Biden said after 2024 are almost identical. You know, they're talking about fascism, all that stuff, and then after the election, it's like, okay, it's a relay race. Obama made the relay race thing, and Biden did something similar. I don't remember the exact metaphor he used. And then there's Biden with one of the January 6th insurrectionists who wore a Camp Auschwitz sweatshirt, and it's like so funny. He's like, I'm not a white supremacist. And then they take off his sweatshirt. It was really like some kind of, Monty Python comedy. He's wearing another Nazi swastika type thing underneath that as his t-shirt. Anyway, so this is when Biden had his inaugural address and said that we have to have unity with people who are trying to murder us all. And that's the Democratic philosophy. That's all.
Okay, so I'll just ask you a few questions and you can, either of you can answer them or both of you can. So here's a question. If you look at what happened in this election just now, basically all of the dominant popular cultural figures were on the side of the Democrats. I mean, everyone, right? From Bruce Springsteen, I mean, we all know. And who did the Republicans have? They had like Hulk Hogan and Kid Rock. No one. So it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It
got $1 million.
Right. It doesn't seem like culture, in which I suppose maybe you could include art, played a very big role in the result of that election. It seemed that basically you throw everything you could in popular culture out there, and it didn't work. So,
But it's not
can art actually make a difference?
That wasn't popular culture. That was mass culture. It wasn't people's culture. So Oprah, Beyonce, the list of famous, that's not people's culture. That's mass corporate culture that means nothing to people. It means nothing. And they were paid. Trump doesn't pay for anything, right? But they were paid. He could have bought Oprah, probably. I'm just saying $1 million could buy you a lot of celebrities, right? So, did it mean anything? No, it didn't mean anything because they're not cultural workers. They're not with the people. They're corporate mass purveyors of crap. Did I say that? Go ahead.
Well, and also, culture has been splintered, especially recently. And so they did have culture. They just had a culture that, as you were saying, it's not the mass commercial corporate culture, but it is another kind of corporate culture with UFC fighting. I mean, that's hugely multi-billion-dollar, I assume. Joe Rogan and the manosphere, that is a culture, and it is a very pervasive culture online, YouTube, all these algorithms that favor terrorist incitement and hatred. has helped galvanize this movement, this men's rights movement, which is one of the reasons he returned to Madison Square Garden to sort of thank the testosterone that had brought him back into the White House.
I mean, if you look at the 1930s, the cultural workers that were anti-fascist were people like John Garfield. They were literally murdered. So you had a whole element of cultural workers that were political, that were socialists, that grew up with being anti-fascist. And they would fund the left. And they were taken out by HUAC. They were deliberately targeted, like Humphrey Bogart. You know, you look at the list of the HUAC, they were activists. Just because they were famous celebrities in that sense, they came from grassroots. They were loyal. They were ideologically born on the left. They weren't for sale. And they were targeted like you wouldn't believe. They never got the TV shows. They never got the payoffs. They were removed. They were removed completely. So there's a big difference between those people. Now we've got Susan Sarandon, who's investing in real estate. I mean, where does the left go for funding? Where is the supporters of people's art? Where are those supporters? They don't exist. They don't exist in the gallery world. They don't exist in museums. All those were wiped out deliberately by HUAC. And that memory is long. So that's the price you pay. Go ahead.
You're saying HUAC, I couldn't understand that. I thought it was a person you were saying.
No,
Yeah,
I mean House of American Activities Committee.
Yes, sorry. No, I thought it was a Humphrey Bogart. I mean,
Brecht,
100%.
Brecht, I mean, all those people that went in front of those committees,
Yeah.
you know, for Henry Winston of the Communist Party, he went blind in prison. He went blind, they wouldn't give him medical treatment. You had the most advanced Americans, and they were taken out. They were put in prison. And this wasn't just on the vista of a culture. This was school teachers. This was factory workers, people organizing, all taken out. And that Smith Act is still on the books. I mean, how can they say, you know, you're a communist? Didn't they wipe out communism? Wasn't that their great success? I mean, why is this red baiting returning? What Susan Sarandon's going to, I'm just picking her because that's the only name I can remember. What, she's going to pop up and give me like $15 for my artwork? No, she's going to be investing in real estate. Who else is on the left?
Along the lines of Susan Sarandon, or?
No, I mean, where's the proper rich people that are on the proper left? Who are they?
Zero. There are
They
none.
don't walk into galleries buying stuff. No. Say, give me a name. I want to get a contact.
I have nobody.
Nobody,
No.
right?
My biggest
Nobody.
fans are the poorest people in
I
the
know.
universe.
Yeah, me too.
Well, there's all books.
Sorry.
And
Or what? Or books, yeah.
Yeah.
all books.
Oh,
and
yeah, no, we appreciate
our-
that. very much.
given the political situation, our sales are booming at the moment. So
I'm glad. It's about
but
time.
maybe we're going to make a fortune. And the great thing is that we won't have to pay tax on it for the next 4 years. So. But I think the point I was making was that I'm just wondering, I mean, you're both political artists. Can art shift politics? And
Absolutely.
it certainly, I guess it has in the past, and you
Yes.
could talk about that a bit. It would be interesting to hear some of the people who've influenced you, who definitely, I would say, have made a difference. But in contemporary culture, that seems more questionable to me.
Remember our books we've done together? Do you know how many vegans I've made? Thousands. That's just to get people to be non-violent and remove themselves from the meat industry. That's huge. So yes, political art. Yes, that content changes people. And you only have to go to universities now and see those kids, and they're working all night doing their second or third jobs and paying for this crappy college stuff to realize how smart they are, you know, how involved they are in environmental struggles, how they're way, way more advanced than I was at 19, way more. My deep thought at 19 was, should I wear blue eyeshadow? Is that popping out? You know, I mean, this is totally different now. And you see, these are Americans. These are the real Americans. And they're kids. And they're so freaking smart about what's going on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have nothing to add. You know,
So, yes, we agree it
yeah.
can create change.
Yeah, I mean, but it not, you know, I would like to think that my art inspires people to become, you know, galvanized, like what you were saying, on an individual level. But, you know, I don't have any.
Proof. You have to take proof.
I don't have any
Take
false.
records.
No, I don't have any
when
false impressions of my own power that, you know,
We'll
that
pretend.
there are seismic, larger changes that are happening. But on an individual level, that'd be nice, sure.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit, each of you, about the people that have most influenced your work?
Well, Katie Kollwitz, obviously. You know,
And
she
there's an-
started off as an ideological Marxist, you know, from the Peasants' War from Engels. And in the end, when she was starving to death in 1945, and she was in the Degenerate show, she said, all I can say, all I've come to the conclusion is non-violence. This is all I can believe now is non-violence. And I think it's like now we're in such a complex situation. Someone said it's like reading the last page of a book and thinking you can get it. So I think we need to render this into non-violence, into promoting that. That's just my thought.
Some violence is good. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we start with what's on your plate, because that's murdering children in slaughterhouses, that's wounding people. It's a state of the most hideous mass murder you can believe. And you'll never get in those slaughterhouses. Never. These are like Fort Knox. You think that, you know, the lifespan of a meat packer is 1 year before they're seriously wounded. Because people like palate pleasure, they like bacon. Well, if you start thinking about what you're putting on your plate, and this, the organized global fascism, is we can't look over the wall. Well, we need to look over the wall, and we need to be in the slaughterhouses. We need to be in the prisons. We need to be reporting from there. Well, you do that. Go ahead.
Ali, will you talk a little bit about who's influenced your work?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a combination. Obviously, in Museum of Degenerates, I talked a bit about, you know, in the introduction. It's actually a lengthy introduction. I strongly recommend you get this book. But I talked a bit about the wartime people like George Gross or Otto Dix. But, you know, even more than that, pre-war Yiddish cartoonists here in New York were a great source of inspiration, including Leon Israel, who went by the pen name Lola, who was going after sweatshops, including Will Cropper also, yeah. But I'm talking about Lola. After the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, he did some really amazing imagery. Others as well, but you know, there's a piece. I drew an image of Bezos, Jeff Bezos, modeled after Lola's image of the Shirtwaist Factory owners, just these monstrous. Ogres who were coming after workers. So there's that, and there's also, of course, you know, the Mad comics of the 50s. It was like the next generation of Jewish creative genius in New York. Harvey Kurtzman, Will Elder, and many others. They're doing the EC comics, the you know, horror science fiction comics, but also the sort of using the same themes of the horror and science fiction to do satirical work, which was just amazing. Yeah, like mid-century and previously was a lot of both artistic style and sort of the political content that inspired me. And Gropper, of course. I love Gropper. Gropper is really, in fact, I was going to say some of your work reminds me of him.
Yeah, and he ended up painting ties for a living. He was blacklisted. along with Charles White. You know, the whole sequence of these artists, the 30s, 40s, and 50s, were completely wiped out. Ollie Harrington, that worked for the Communist Party, escaped to France, Germany. You know, he's one of the greatest cartoonists of all time, Ollie Harrington. He refused to say he wasn't a communist.
Okay, so let me ask you, this is a more general question. Is art better if it's political?
Well, the most political art is the art of neutrality. That's the majority of artwork, is absolutely nothing. It's your decoration for your bathroom wall. To be neutral in times of great moral crisis is immoral. So the majority of art is political, and it's on the right.
Okay.
I mean,
What do you think, Ellie?
I mean, I agree with that totally, but I also think that you know, this is not my art, but the art that inspires me a lot, aside from, you know, like film and stuff like that, is art that is not overtly political, but that obviously everything can be read politically and is read politically, should be read politically, but that is not, you know, as in your face politically like my work is on the surface. You know, can't do everything. But yeah, like the films that I've been into are just like, you know, hallucinatory, but not like not political on the surface. I mean, who asked that? Oh. Recently, this is just way in the weeds, but I've been into Italian Gothic horror from the 1960s and 70s. Just absolutely, it is hallucinatory, and it takes you to different worlds and a world of like emotions at another plane. And it's been a wonderful salve during this year of crisis for me personally.
Oh,
Yeah. Thanks.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
So why don't we open it up to some questions? Would anyone like to ask either of these guys or both of them a question?
Do you think it's possible to even do a single drawing that would upset Trump? Because I think, like, I've seen, like, a friend of mine drew him literally where his two eyes and his mouth are a butthole, right?
Or a what?
I think a butthole, like literally an anus where his eyes and his mouth. Right? And I've seen, I was on a protest march once where someone had just an asshole with an orange wig on it. And I'm like, I think even that would fit on his wall and be proud that he's getting attention. So I just feel like, because I mean, I'm an illustrator and I decided I just wouldn't draw him anymore.
Mhm.
Like I drew him when he was in power last time because it just seemed like, also I was being paid to do it too, so it's not.
Really?
Well,
I'd like to. I didn't know people actually get paid for that.
I mean, when you're being paid, you have to put up with edits. Like, don't make him too orange. Don't make him too orange.
Oh,
Even though he's fucking orange. You have to, you know, whatever. Anyway, sorry. So the question was, how do you feel about drawing?
Well, your initial question was, would he ever be shamed? And no,
No.
he wouldn't be. So that's the answer to that. And as I said earlier, I don't want to draw him anymore. I'm not going to say no because then this video, we were going to be like, hey, you said you wouldn't draw him. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
but I don't want to draw him. And so yeah, I've said it all. I don't need to say it again. And yeah, but obviously, you know, we're going to deal with this shit for 4 years, barring, you know.
Nature can take its course.
Pardon me?
Nature can
Oh,
take
nature.
its
Yeah.
I mean, even just, in Sue, how do you feel when you have to look at it? Like, if you're drawing him, you have to look at his face for a while, and I find that harmful. I can't.
When I drew him in this book, it's for fast reaction, it's for publication. So I'm never commissioned. I mean, we've gone through that, no money, but it's definitely for publication. It had a purpose. I will never draw him again. Video. I will never, ever draw him again. There is nothing. What I'm trying to get at is both political parties are from monopoly capitalism. They're both monopoly capitalism. Now there's slight differences, of course, and Democrats would have given us some sort of breathing room, maybe. But yes, Eli's exactly right. They get as much in power as they get out of power. So I think the very hard thing is to do, like Gropper, is to really describe global monopoly capitalism, because it's almost incomprehensible what they're doing. So I can tell you, well, IBM has so much stock, well, let's say Exxon. We can go to the New York Public Library, tap into a media, or we go to Wall Street, we know who's buying those stocks. In this second, in the next second, that's changed. So how does one describe this faster than light speed change of capital? Marx, not that I'm any sort of Marxist, because I can't even remember anything except ownership of the means of production. But Marx said capital ends when it's selling nothing. And that's the stage we're in now, is capital is selling nothing. So there's all this huge amount of nothing that's being exchanged and exchanged. Meanwhile, we won't have a food supply. We won't have air. We won't have water. So if you think the wall on the Rio Grande is about a wall, then I have a pipeline to sell you, because that's about pipeline access. It's about fossil fuel. It's about buying up water rights. So it's how, which I only know from grassroots activists there. So I know what they're doing. It's got nothing to do with the freaking wall. You know, it's buying up those rights to move fossil fuel through that. So I think to be an artist, it's very difficult to show labor, people working without resorting to some Stalinist stereotype with a tractor. You know, it's difficult to show these concepts when I barely understand them myself. You know, I'm not that, well, yeah, I am smart, but I'm not that smart that I can put this in images to help people understand. I mean, who did the Communist Manifesto? He illustrated it. It was quite good. But that's what we need. We need sort of capital described what's going on in art to make that understandable. So the mask, you know, what did Brecht say or something? Beware the mask you wear because it becomes your face. Trump is nothing. Musk is nothing. It's the forces behind them. Where are the pension funds invested? How can you show that working people have been sold out into the stock market? For them to get retirement now is dependent on the market. So this is why we don't have strong unions. Unions were forced during the time of Ronald Reagan to invest in the market for future retirement. So this is a massive contradiction.
I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of drawing Trump. I mean, you know, with his first administration, drawing the horrors, to me, was more important than drawing the cartoonish buffoonery. But now it's like, I just don't know. I don't know how. Like, he's going so far beyond. You know, the people that he's choosing. You know, like pedophiles, rapists, grifters. Just open about it. And then these Christo-fascists like Johnson in the House. You know, they're just like, yes, more and more. And drawing this hell is like, I mean, it just feels almost redundant after 4 years of it, and 8 years ultimately. So.
Well, Bannon picked up on Goebbels. How did Goebbels control German population? It was very cheap, inexpensive radios. So every house had them. And then Goebbels said, flood the zone with shit. Flood it with shit. Bannon picked that up. So now we're reacting to the latest paedophile that's now going to be running government, or reacting. That's what it is. It's shit. So how can we not react but see behind that? It's extremely complicated when it's not in the interest of publishers or certainly mainstream media that's managed to have both sides. Oh, neutrality, going to be neutral. oh, we got to treat this like a normal election, be neutral. That was the most despicable thing I've seen. One of the most. You know, the role mainstream media, you know, our major publications that do legitimate journalism, play this game. Why is this game? Because the Trump's tax, that will run out in 2025. So they're doing it on both hands, two hands. One, oh, we have to do an editorial saying Trump will be very bad, it's fascism. On the other hand, they want those tax breaks to continue. Is there a great mind at work in one of these major publications planning all this? No. It's not even, it's more you prod an amoeba and it shrivels. It's more an autonomic reflex of almost a virus, a non-life form, how corporate executives react. You know, and it'll be interesting to what is deep state? What is deep state? Well, it's the military-industrial complex, it's fossil fuel. That would be huge, meat industry, right? Those are deep state. And it'll be interesting seeing how they distort themselves to actually perform for the deep state, because they're not going to go away. Say something. I could just go on and on. I could just it just gets tedious.
Well, let me ask you. So, it seems like neither of you want to draw
Trump.
hideous
No.
people in power any longer.
No.
That's not necessarily true, but Trump himself. Yeah.
Trump himself. So, what is it that you are going to be drawing over the next period? Do you think?
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep going after the meat industry with the most ruthless focus. I'm going to keep doing it until my last breath. I'm going to get them. That's what I'm going to do.
I said I didn't want to draw Trump, but as I said, the fake opposition that we have is so infuriating that it's very possible that will inspire me to, draw them. The consultant class, the media that is, desperate for Trump, loves Trump, pretend they don't love Trump, but they love him. They love everything that this circus will bring for them and their revenues. So I might draw them, and I might draw other stuff entirely. I mean, it'd be nice to draw something that's not political for a change, but, and of course there's also, the thing I mentioned earlier, the thing I'm drawing right now, and continuing themes related to that place over there that is sort of the travesty of Jewish history and identity and spirituality, etc. That might inspire me as well.
Any more questions? Oh, there's someone there.
Can I ask how you both feel about how useful or helpful or not helpful it is, the more like utopian images of what could be, kind of, not what is. How you both feel about that? Sue, I've seen a little bit of your more hopeful work, like outside your kitchen window.
It's so fake. When I try and be hopeful, it just fails. I just can't muster it with sufficient enthusiasm. But I try.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of thing reminds me of AI images, which has been compared to fascist imagery of like the utopia that will exist once we get rid of the undesirables kind of thing, But drawing like some happy image as like a sort of like this is the way the world should be is not my strength, I would say. I would leave that to others. So I'm not going to say it's a bad thing to do. AI, of course, is evil in every respect, all of it. But people who are painting the way they want the world to be, that's great. I mean, but it's just not me.
I mean, we could be sitting on a lovely beach, waves, sun, and I would just see that oil spill coming across, and I'd have to do it. I'd have to.
I just want to say, I think there's a different approach, though, to when you're cartooning non-political issues, because I think one of the big frustrations that we're all feeling as artists and probably people who look at art is that power is drawing all the parameters of every discussion we're allowed to have. And all these parameters insist on a certain amount of stupidity, laziness, and I'm sure that that's one of the biggest frustrations that you have to deal with, because it's bullshit. It's so much that the people are buying. And as artists, we have to just be like, it's bullshit. You know? And now I've got to try to educate you out through my own rage and why it's bullshit. And then we get stuck in this loop where, again, it's just waiting for power to draw the parameters, respond to the bullshit, and it doesn't allow us something that we used to have, I would say, in the culture, is that the arts community, in particular, was able to insist on smarter kinds of conversation. Because I think that rather than just focusing on the rendering of political illustrations or commentary to change the world, it's also up to the culture to start celebrating the vulnerability of humanity in sort of a more poetic and beautiful way.
That's very good,
because there's a lot of people who are terrified of engaging in political conversation. They just don't want to make that stand. A, they might feel like they're too stupid, or that there's penalties, particularly now, given Gaza, just as an example. You can only whisper your opinion to people that you trust, right? So I feel like as a culture, what we need to do is, again, we've got to reinforce the mutuality we have as human beings that are vulnerable, and that there's poetry in that, and there's beauty in that, and there's hopefulness in that, because if we can understand each other in 3 dimensions. Like for me, listening to John Coltrane or bebop, you know, that burst into the world as a revolutionary kind of art. It wasn't overtly political. It celebrated the exploratory adventurism of what it means to be a living human being.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and
I wish I'd said that. That's really good. You're really good. I mean, he's a great artist too. It's Mr. Fish.
Mr. Fish.
That is so good. Thank you.
Just my 2 cents.
No, that's $2. I mean, when we think of great art, what I think of is David. He did this quick sketch of Marie Antoinette going to the scaffold in a cart. It was just like, it had every humanity. It had this young woman in a little mop cap, just bent over going to the scaffold. And without saying anything in a few lines. And then I think of Rembrandt, who did this quick sketch, 2 sketches, they're in the Metropolitan, of a young woman who murdered her landlord. And she's garroted, they garroted her. And Rembrandt is drawing her from this view because she's hanging by her neck. And on her apron is the hatchet she used to kill her exploiter. And every part of humanity is in those lines. You couldn't get more powerful work where it's not, you see that her struggle, you see this young child hanging. And Rembrandt did it from 2 different angles. Nothing is said, nothing needs to be said. It's not sentiment, it's not false humanity. It's the ability to see something, the curiosity. So yeah, that would be the highest intent, and I think you put that beautifully. You did. I think if you can take that away, I mean, we're trying to do that. We are trying. I mean, that's what I see in the slaughterhouses. I see the workers kiss the animal before they shoot them through the brain. How can you draw that? How can you show that?
Well,
And I just want to say one little thing about the animals is when they're in the slaughterhouse and they're seconds away from being slaughtered, they look at you. So if I'm drawing them They're looking at me in the eyes and they have this idea of justice. Why are you doing this to me? Please stop. I can improve. Let me learn from this. That's what they're saying, because they're herd animals. They learn when they peck each other they did wrong. They're looking for justice. They're looking for justice at their executioners. And how can you put that in art? How can you show that moment of that looking into the face? It's very, very difficult.
Okay, well, look, thanks for that, Sue. And thank you, Ellie. And, yeah, I just want to reiterate, I'm so proud that we're publishing these wonderful artists. And I hope, obviously, as their publisher, that you'll get a copy of their book. If you could possibly review it for the New York Times, that would be very much appreciated. I'm sure you'll find a willing audience there. And thanks very much, all of you, for coming.
Oh, thank you.
So stick around, have a drink. Yeah.
I can sign, but you can sign.
Oh, we'll sign some books at the front. Yeah.
Thank you.